with me, Ratz. Is it working? Everything looks like it's working, but I'm not sure. Obviously, it was not planned, um, and I'm just checking if everything is all right online. Yes, that looks good. Um, let's move that mic a little bit lower. If you want to ask me any questions, you can do it. But that live is made mainly to answer some questions which I've been asked by one of most famous AI chats asked me 190 questions about art. It was some time ago, a few months ago, and I planned to make a live stream answering that questions, but I didn't because there is no time for that, and basically there is no need for that actually. So why would I do something which I don't need to do actually? So. Um, I answered 20 of that questions. It was fun. Um, Maybe not as much fun as I would like it to be, but anyway. I'm making video with another camera as well, so there will be full documentation of that live stream, double documentation. There's one camera here, one camera here. So it you can always come back to that video. It will be saved on YouTube as well as a that version. Anyway, you can ask me any question at any point. I'm Luke Ratz. I am a free thinker, anarchist, artist, whatever you want to call me, insane person or whatever. I'm just having fun answering some questions generated by AI. And in general, my practice it's mostly abstract art, abstract drawing. I've got some background in arts, and I'm interested. Beside that, I'm interested in philosophy of mind, consciousness, epistemology, science in general, philosophy of science. Those are my interests, but uh, it's like on the margin of everyday day life. I'm reading about it or whatever, thinking about it. But mainly it's about art, about imagination, about absolute freedom and play. Uh, okay, so ChatGPT asked me. So that 20 questions which chat that AI asked me before. First chapter of that 20 questions, with that 20 questions, it was titled Origins, Intuitions, and Inner Landscapes. And now, second part of that interview, let's say, is art as knowledge, art as experiment. Wherever that chat is leading me, I'm going there. I'm just answering that questions as it would be some journalist, and I'm having fun with that. So it's 21st question. Can art produce knowledge in the same way science does? Wow, very nice question. So I would say art can generate new patterns, new. I mean, artists are like first of all, what is art? What artists are doing, in my opinion, mostly, they are uh, building complex representations on canvases or on paper, as a writers as well, which are depicting a lot of culture and cultural artifacts, let's say, and emotions and feelings and thoughts of some era. Anyway, it's every artist now. I think is totally free to do whatever they want. So in my case, as an artist, I am simply documenting mental representations and my imagination. There is not too many feelings, not too much of an emotions, not there is no stories. But art in general is very often like documenting like whole knowledge of some era with symbolism and complex stories and representations. Many artists in 20th century started to be more individualistic, as I am, and artists now are mostly individuals and individualistic, I think. Uh, Although many of artists now, contemporary artists, is influenced by huge businesses and political influences and so on. But anyway, I'm an independent artist, individual artist. I'm like documenting representations which my mind is producing. So can I generate any knowledge in that sense? I Of course I can. Like it's the same way as mathematicians can, like scientists can. Although scientists are documenting basically and trying to create theories how something is working, so they are like the source of true knowledge. What artists are doing, they are like generating patterns, and that patterns can be very original and new and never exist. Those can be patterns which never existed before. So in that sense, that's knowledge generation, because you are facing then some artifacts, some phenomenons created by artists. Some you are experiencing some situations which never existed before. So, and in that sense, it's a knowledge. Knowledge is also in the practice of art. So, whatever you would do in your life, doing that, you are generating knowledge, at least knowledge about how to do what you are doing. So that's the experience. So in that sense, nothing is wasted in human experience, and art in the same way. Art is generating knowledge because of like experiencing the process of creating and that's it. So there is a lot of knowledge in art fields. It's not only about technical issues, symbolical issues, and stories, but it's also about insights which artists have because of their practice. So it's knowledge about your own mind. It's a different kind of knowledge, I think, than the knowledge about how to follow the orders or instructions of some people, or so it's different, because it's creative business. So you are creating everything from zero, on your own terms, with your own rules. So yeah, there is a lot of knowledge which artists are creating and discovering as well, because for example, psychological uh, self knowledge is can be intersubjective and universal across all humans. And the same is about the process of constructing representations which other humans can decipher and understand. So it's like effort of some sort, like of semiotics. So you are creating of or linguistic efforts, where simply you are not only creating symbols, you are creating whole dictionaries, and you are creating algorithms as well. And yeah, so there is a lot of knowledge. Whenever people are doing something, they are generating knowledge, I would say, because that's the nature of mind. Um, 22. If your drawings were data, what would they be measuring? That's a good one. If your drawings were data, what would they be measuring? I am always saying that my art is a like measurement of limits of my imagination, um, but it's a tough one because on one hand there is no limits to imagination in that sense that um, you can play with that as long as you've got time. You can change everything and experiment and so on. But anyway, drawing is like generating a lot of data, and basically that data is saying a lot about your abilities in general. Your about your time management as well, about your capacity to imagine stuff. A lot is there. So what whatever aspect of cognition you would want mm, to measure, you can find it in drawings actually somehow. But of course, like it's tricky with arts because with arts you are making conscious choices, for example, to limit complexity of objects which you are creating, because you know that someone will be watching it, so you are limiting yourself to not make it too complex and too difficult to consume by other people. So it would be not easy to digest art which is too enigmatic and complex, and where there would be too many symbols or references to some sources which nobody knows. But yeah, so what I would mainly say that it's measuring, it's because art is of course in the context of history of art, so it's like you are producing symbols which are in reference to the past, symbols which existed, symbols and pictures and representations. So it's a measurement, for example, of originality of artists. So, but again, it's tricky because you don't know to what part of art history artists have access to. Uh, but in general, it's the measurement, for example, of your imagination skills, because if you put the same piece of paper and the same in one pencil in front of thousands of people and give them 1 hour to do something on it, you can start to find patterns, and you can understand how uh, it can measure like abilities of that person. So, and I'm not saying, like, for example, that I think that measuring and comparing people is ethically correct. I don't think it's correct. I think everyone should be free to do whatever they want in the way they want to do. But for me, it's a data collection. Art is a data collection for an individual, not for anyone else, because it's a saving, in my opinion, art is saving algorithms which you are using for creating thinking and so on. So, but yeah, measurement is not um, ethically correct because it can be used against you, against individual. Um, so in that sense, I am against measurement because it's a instrument of abuse. If someone knows who you are in a very precise way, they can control you and use you. And that's an ethical part of, for example, psychology field now, because it's a instrument of power instrument of governments to simply define you, measure you, and if they've got data, they can manipulate you and control you and use you. So in that sense, measurement is not cool, but for an individual, it's good. Like in many ways. 23. Do you see your practice as hypothesis driven or exploratory? Do you see your practice as hypothesis driven or exploratory? Um, I'm I've got some ideas which I'm developing all the time. So for example, like there is plenty of hypotheses in that sense that, for example, I believe that imagination matters, that abstract art matters in that sense. Those are hypotheses, let's say, um, and uh, and I'm developing that, like exploring abstract art in that sense. But it's like practice based on some assumptions and value system that I value, for example, imagination more than reality. Uh, it's not so exploratory because I'm not constantly pushing myself to go in many different directions. So I'm more, my method is more constructive, and so I'm limiting myself in that sense uh, to specific type of abstract art where I'm creating 3D representations, but those are 3D representations which can be adapted, transformed into three-dimensional, real three-dimensional sculptures. In my case, transparent sculptures. Um, I'm not sure if I understand that question. Do you see your practice as hypothesis driven or exploratory? So I'm more theoretical than just. So first of all, like I think art is mainly an information. It's not about how you make stuff, in what medium. Are you drawing? Are you painting? Are you making 3D models? For me, it doesn't matter. What matters is those are representations. So it's pure information. So it's in that theoretical, let's say, mode of thinking. Exploratory art, in other hand, it's like a more empiricism, like in art. So basically, you are going into the world and you are experimenting with materials, with techniques, and eventually you are painting something from nature. Or yeah, but you can be as well exploratory in that realm of pure imagination. So yeah, I'm the same. Like I'm first of all, like information and imagination. It's abstract, so I think we can say that it's hypothesis driven art, but I'm exploring that space. Yeah, but it's in my art is coming from inside, not from the outside world. So I'm not trying to interpret reality so much, but I'm trying to create new reality. 24. What does art know that science cannot easily access? Um, so in science, everything is rule based, and even if science basically, first of all, science is limited to reality and copying reality. So it's empiricism, but they are trying to basically copy what nature created. In that sense, that science is trying to create as simple a model of reality as possible, so we can understand what is going on outside of our heads. Uh, but art is basically about creative process and what you can see in the front of eye of your imagination, and there is much more freedom in it because you are not limited to reality, to rules. So in science, everything will be rule based because it and language based because it has to be uh, intelligible. So someone have to decipher the message. Someone have to understand what you are saying. But in arts, it's more subjectivity. So basically, art is subjectivity. Science is objectivity, and those are different. This is different cup of tea. Um, so and now general, let's say, consensus is that subjective is always insane. That it's that it doesn't matter or something like that. I disagree because even in science, subjectivity matters extremely. I think that we are benefiting from neurodiversity, from the fact that everyone is different, and then we can create more diverse theoretical landscape, and we can create more diverse and complex representations and models of reality. That's why I'm uh, against like forcing individual to change themselves uh, to like some rule based society, because it's basically destroying what is the most valuable in individual. and every individual has their own type and way of thinking, which can be useful in some domains more than other kinds of types, other types of thinking. So the fact that you don't understand some things doesn't matter that you are not useful or intelligent, or you are simply, your brain is simply functioning in that way that you don't understand that kind of problems, but you can understand all sorts of other kind of problems. So yeah, so subjectivity, that's the that's which it's so the question was, what does art know that science cannot easily access? So art perfectly knows the value of subjectivity. Subjectivity is the value, individual is the value. In science, objectivity is the value. In science, individual doesn't matter at all. So science is about truth, uh, truth about reality, and art is about truth, about subjectivity. 25. What does science? 26. Sorry. Do you think visual abstraction can function as a theory? Visual abstraction. Do you think visual abstraction can function as a theory? Those are like postmodernist type of questions. I'm not sure if I understand that question. Do you think visual abstraction can function as a theory? So in arts, like everything is based on artifacts, even if you've got some imagination, and let's say that's the realm of theory, because you are just making models in your head. You need to physically construct that in that, I mean, that representation. You have to give a proof that that representation was in your head. We need to see that, and in that sense, that's not theoretical. It's just objects. But so what I understand in that question is like that visual apps, maybe that's chat basically created some bullshit. There is I'm just looking for some meaning in some sentence which doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense for me too much, but trying to be polite, let's say, to my interviewer, I would say that we can say that visual abstraction is from theoretical visual abstraction is can be purely theoretical, and can be purely virtual, and it can be purely in your mind. This is like visual reasoning and imagination as such, but there is no need for that at this point, because we've got tools, and we can basically, like, that's the process of drawing, that's the process of like creating on paper, that you are taking your idea from your head, your representation, and you are able to simply present it on the paper or canvas or as a sculpture or as a movie or whatever. Okay, I'll not dive deep into that because we'll stuck in a realm of unknown. So 27. Can an image falsify an idea? Um, so yeah, yeah. So that's a great question, and I think that's that meaning of that question is not so unclear as of that previous question. Uh, so basically, in arts, there is very often that situation that you are. In my case, I'm trying to imagine something, and I think I've got some nice, interesting idea, and that my imagination is correct. That if I will make composition and drawing in such and such way, it will look good. And but basically, there is the act of drawing. It's an experiment basically, and then I can check myself if my imagination was like if my intuition and imagination, if they were correct, if I can really do it in such way, and if it's really good looking or interesting, or it's looking in an interesting way. So yeah, that's the process of, let's say, falsification. If an idea is a theory, and the process of drawing is an act of falsifying the theory. Uh, but basically, the problem with what I'm saying is that representations from your head are very often very different um, than your drawings, because there are technical issues. Sometimes you can't put on paper what you've got in your head, because for, I don't know, if you've got just a pencil and you've got a lot of colors in your head, you are not able to show that. So those are technical issues. 28th question. Do you see repetition in your work as an obsession, iteration of, or calibration? Amazing questions. 28. Do you see repetition in your work as obsession, iteration, or calibration? Exactly. Yeah. So it's not obsession. It's not obsession in the same way as act of communicating. It's not an obsession. If you are talking, it's not an obsession. I am against labeling artists as obsessive compulsive. That's bullshit. That's idiotic. Because if you are speaking and talking with people and you are doing it all the fucking time, it's not obsession. Using of a language is not obsession. And drawing and creating art, it's a language. It's a way of communicating. So those are, let's say, iterations, and now and that iteration leads to calibration in that sense that you've got some idea, you are making one version like of like you are making one, you've got idea for a drawing, you are making one drawing, and you think, oh, it's quite good, but not exactly what I meant. Simply, okay, you are making another version of that, the same kind of drawing, let's say, the same kind of idea, and you think, oh, that's almost there, but we are making third one, and third one is almost precisely the type of drawing I wanted to create. And so but it's a usually process of creation looks like that. You are generating mutations of your idea, or like, and in the case of visual arts, it's simply about how things looks like. So it can be about subtle differences in how something is presented, like with that kind of tools, or with oil paintings, or with crayons, or pencils, and so on, or pens, or whatever. And you are testing that present the act of presentation, just to make your idea clear as possible. So I created thousands of quite similar drawings with the same type of ideas, because I know that with my average talent, 1 in 10 drawings will be amazing, but the rest will be so. So that's an act of calibration, and it's a conscious strategy to make like better quality art. So it's it's not an obsession. It's like a rational choice to present your ideas in a best possible way. Um, and of course, like, you can ask psychoanalytical questions, why you are doing it at all, and what is the meaning behind that, and so on. But those are different kind of questions. But when it comes to, it's like prototyping cars. First prototype of a car will be always messy, and there will be a lot of unnecessary details, and shapes, and so on. But after some few iterations, the model of the car will be really highly functioning, and optimal, and so on. So it's always the same. 29. How do you evaluate progress in an art practice without clear metrics? It's totally subjective, because art is subjective. The only progress you are measuring is the progress of how well you can um, reflect what is in your mind, basically. And you can describe that in different language, in spoken language, and basically you can ask yourself that kind of questions with spoken language. Did I like made something really complex, or did I made something in a mood of anxiety, or did I made something very energetical, as I intended to? Like, that was my intention, to make something uh, really energetic, in some particular vibe, and so on. So I can subjectively evaluate that. And of course, there is another layer of evaluation, in that sense that the only person who like decides if like art is meeting your standards, it's you. But later there is an act of communication, and people like are giving you feedback. If what you are interpreting as a complex is really complex for someone, or is just messy, for example, because those are that kind of philosophical or mathematical questions. If that's pure chaos, or that's the randomness and bullshit basically. If it's an idea or accident and so on, like so later there is confrontation with other people, and they are giving you feedback. What does it mean for them? So, but basically, when it comes to presenting shapes from your head, where there is no so many layers of meanings and symbolic, like references to complex social context, it's easier. And I'm always trying to make something more simple than telling like very I mean, I'm doing it anyway, but I'm not trying to like it's better for me to speak about deep philosophical ideas by simply speaking, and I many times express that thought that it's better to speak about politics or philosophy in a spoken language, because it's faster. It's faster. Question number 30. Is aesthetic pleasure a distraction or a cognitive tool? Another great question. It's a cognitive tool. Like it's like it's let's say, let's go to science field. Is it, does it matter if you are making movie about general, like about relativity of Einstein, or is it better to write a book about it with just math equations? So it's aesthetical, because the content of the movie and the content of the book has to be an equivalent. We are speaking about the same ideas, but how it's presented, it's aesthetical. So it's not a distraction, because some ways of like presenting ideas are better than others, and I think like I actually relativity is better to show in movies uh, than in math equations, especially for someone like me who does not understand math equations usually. So yeah. Um, so it's aesthetical, but it can be very valuable cognitive tool. Um, question number 31. Can beauty be a form of compression? I know where is that question coming from. Because there is that idea that beautiful math equations are like very synthetic and simple, not messy. So that's why that question exists. Can beauty be a form of compression? And there may be something in it that evolutionally, in a process of evolution, humans started to like messages or representations which are simple enough and compressed enough, like information is compressed enough in them that it's easy to digest and interpret. So in that sense, that may be the case, that beauty is connected to compression. But again, like, I think we are evolving during lifetime, and for example, for me, complexity is a beauty. I love complexity. I love when something is so complex that I can't comprehend it. So it's basically uh, it's simply the beauty is in how, to what degree something is inspiring. So if something is so complex that I can't comprehend it, it's like it can drive someone's anxiety, but it's driving my curiosity, for example. So it's not so easy, and basically, I think you can change your preferences with time, and so so I don't believe in aesthetical preferences which are strictly inborn. That's, of course, there are that kind of preferences inborn, I believe, and it's like deeply in our DNA of human species. Uh, but it doesn't have to be your whole life in the same way. Like, so, and basically, I would argue that there is a value in escaping from that, because that aesthetical preferences are limiting us in many ways. So if you will force yourself to make only extremely simple equations, you will not be able to simply create equations which are describing more complex aspects of the world. So simplicity, it's not a value when your main purpose is to create equations which are depicting truth, uh, and the same in aesthetics. Uh, I understand aesthetics in a evolutionary way. So basically, uh, it's not about uh, beauty as such, but about evolution of the concept of beauty, basically, and evolution of imagination, and evolution of values, and so on. So we are not sticking to anything, because it's sticking to anything, to ideas. It's making you stiff and stupid, simply because you are not flexible enough uh, to build representations of the outside world. You are not smart enough to build representations of complex representations which you can create, basically, and so on. I am into stretching imagination as possible, and yeah, so I want to enrich my imagination as much as possible, and so on. Like, can beauty be a form of compression? There is some pleasure in compression. For example, um, the example of compression in my art is such that I'm not creating repetitive patterns, uh, because I don't like them, because this is not a new information. If I'm repeating pattern, I'm not adding anything for the viewer, nothing new. It's not music which I'm creating. I'm creating spatial 3D representations, and every repetition is like a waste. It's you can understand it's like a redundance in some sense, but we don't need that on paper. We want to, for example, I want to use piece of paper as in such a way that I want to transmit as many information as possible at once, and repetition is, is unnecessary in that medium for me. So it's a waste of space basically for me. So in that sense, I'm compressing that message. I'm not creating redundant messages. It's just one of a time, like one in a moment, like one pattern in a and we are not repeating it. We don't need to do that. 32. Is your work closer to cartography or archaeology? Let's think about it for a moment. Of course, cartographic. Archaeology. It will be when I will be a dead person. So I'm mapping basically my brain and my imagination. And you can say it's like imagination is like a math. There is no limits to that. I'm not sure about it. Brains are limited, and yeah, I mean, but let's say it's a map also of the yeah, like value system. What aesthetically is pleasing for me, and what matters for me, what kind of forms, and so on. So, but it's cartography all the time, mapping of your own brain. 33. Do you believe art can model complex systems? Visualization is extremely important in all kinds of sciences, and everyone knows that. If Kajal, what was that name of that one of the first neurologists who created a model of the neuron, was an artist, and basically without his drawing skills he would be not able to decipher how all kinds of neurons looks like. So art can model complex systems. Without visual imagination, Einstein would not invent relativity, because mental, like, let's say, experiments were like on the base of that of his theories, and so on, like in physics for sure. So that's kind of art, to imagine all of that. But art is mainly like to model complex systems, of like complex system of internal states of mind, of the artists, and there can be a lot. Because it's an influence of whole cultural background and whole historical background and so on. So it's a very complex play, and yeah, artists can do it, but in a not very precise mathematical way, in that sense that's aesthetical still. Um, but for fortunately, artists doesn't have to uh, do as much, and they don't have to be as precise as scientists, because it's just a fun, basically. Um, I mean, fun, serious fun, but fun. And it's not. It's like question. Do you believe writers, for example, can model complex systems? In a sense, yes, they can. There are even theories that the best programmers are those who can like write long essays or something like that. There was that kind of theory, uh, because imagination is necessary to understand complexity. Um, 34. How does ambiguity function as a form of rigor? Um, Ambiguity, it's a way of for artists to open um, open what's like they artifacts, for example paintings, for new meanings. And because it's not, because like simple sentences which can be easily deciphered, that's a domain of science. You are creating as transparent languages as possible, and then you've got just numbers. But ambiguity, it's more fun because it's more inspiring if you can uh, allow a few meanings within the one symbol or one object. uh, it's more inspiring, it's more fun, uh, and it doesn't mean that artists not are not able to be precise. For example, I'm trying to be as precise as possible, but ambiguity is an element of fun and surprise and so on. And ambiguity, it's a strategy, I think, as well to gain your attention, to because if something is easy to decipher, you are reading it, uh, uh, for example, number, and you know, oh, that's 7, and fine, end of the message, end of the story, 7. Everything is clear. But if something is, you don't know if it's 7 or 9, uh, you are staying with that longer, and you are thinking longer, and that's what artists want. Like, uh, yeah, because they can, for example, in that way express the message that things are not as simple as you think, or something like that. But it's another tool, like another tool of prestidigitate, or like, how do you call it? It's like magic trick. Uh, of course, like as I say, you can be more direct with your messages or less direct with your messages. Um, Hello, one person who is watching. Uh, 35. Are your drawings answers or instruments? Neither. Like, my drawings are simply a documentation of my imagination, so they are closer to answers than instruments. Specifically in my case, everyone, as I say, is making art in a different way for different purposes. 36, and this is 36 question, which is a dangerous area and unnecessary area, I would say. Can art be peer reviewed in any meaningful sense? And that's a dangerous area because it's a question: should academy exist? Uh, in in my opinion, shouldn't. It shouldn't, because there is no answer what art should be, what art is, because it's a pure freedom, absolute freedom, and everyone can do whatever the f they want. And plenty of people will be in a fascist way trying to prove that uh, you are wrong, and there are specific ways to do stuff, but there is no specific way to do stuff. No, just in the same way in the science field, uh, you can't prove that something has to be done in one specific way. There's always more ways to do stuff, and basically everyone has their own niche, and they can explore that niche, and they can be perfect in that niche, and they can be absolute ignorance in other like parts of the like general knowledge, and it doesn't matter. No, that's how like brains are functioning. They are highly specialized. It's like nobody can take care of everything in so yeah. Basically, I don't believe in education in that sense. I am, for example, scientist, and I think that science is the most important and meaningful human activity. But I don't think that, for example, someone who didn't finish university can't make science. He can, like she can, whatever. Can art be peer reviewed? In some sense, it can, because it will be like a social social. You are making an exhibition, and people are writing reviews, and that's the peer review, and all of them can decide, oh, we don't like that fucker, so we will not write anything good about his art. And basically that will be peer review, but it will be precisely as meaningful as that kind of decision. Oh, I don't like that person for whatever reason. uh, in art there is no strict criterias, and there will never be, like, and that's the freedom of arts. With science, you are limited to the truth and empirical tests. In arts, it's about subjectivity, so it's different. 37. What would a scientific paper written entirely in images look like? uh, I'm not claiming that it's impossible, and it can be it that kind of experiments can be done. I would say, and for example, biological research without images, you would not do anything meaningful. The same is with anatomy. Simply, images are extremely important in many scientific like fields. But writing the whole scientific paper with entirely in images would be probably quite tricky. But I believe it's possible. Do you think artists should understand the sciences they reference deeply? Do you think artists should understand the sciences they reference deeply or intuitively? Artists doesn't have to do anything because artists are creating, and you can buy it or not, you can like it or not, and that's it. But he doesn't have to do anything because it's not your fucking business what artists are doing. The artists are doing whatever they want, and that will be always the case. Artists are free people. Do you think artists should understand the sciences they reference deeply or intuitively? Uh, if if artist is making reference to some particular part of science, it would be great if they would understand that. But artists are artists, scientists are scientists, and don't expect that artists will be scientists. So if they are inspired by some science, for example, quantum physics, don't expect them to understand all aspects of quantum physics. It would be great. It would be like honest if they would say if they understand it more in more details. Um, Usually artists are pretending that they know everything, which is very weird for me. But basically, the artists, those are free people, and they don't have to. They don't have to do anything in a way you think they have to do something. Can an artwork be wrong? Uh, if you define a task as making a realistic representation of some, for example, face or whatever. So I wanted to say particular person, but don't let's not make advertisement for any particular person. You can easily say that it's looking like them or not for most humans. But to be honest, like even with making portraits, you don't have to put a much effort to make a drawing in a such way that the person on the drawing will be easily recognized. So it's quite tricky because yeah, I mean you or you can define the problem differently. You can say make a interesting portrait in a style of Ingres, for example, or Velasquez, and then it's more clear what artist should be doing, and if he will paint as Picasso, then it will be in that sense wrong. But does it matter? No, because it's about making interesting arts, not a task. If you got commission and someone came to you and say, "Oh, make me illustration for that kind of book in that kind of style," then you can be wrong. But it's again doesn't say anything about artist and quality of his art, in my opinion. Because art is freedom. 40. Is art a way of knowing or a way of not knowing honestly? Is art a way of knowing or way of not knowing? Uh, huh. Art is the only the only thing which artists know for sure is to know what he's thinking, what he's feeling, what he wants to say, and so on. So in that sense, art is a way of knowing, but because artists are creative, uh, insane people, they want to create something completely new. So they are very often in the state of not knowing. Yeah. Anyway, uh, yeah. Art can be quite annoying business in general because so many people just don't know, and so many people like can't accept the fact that freedom of choice in arts exists, and there is so many degrees of freedom basically. People prefer more strictly defined rules and in the game, and they are treating it like a game, um, which is not my interpretation of art history in general. My interpretation of history is more existential, so people are simply documenting their inner lives, and it can be wrong in any way. Uh, your thoughts, emotions, and states of mind are not wrong. They simply are, and the facts how like you can document it in a more attractive way or less attractive way, but it's not wrong if someone is does like it or not. It doesn't matter. So that's my interpretation. It was another 20 questions, and it was part 2. It took me again almost precisely the same amount of time as previously, and I'll put that video. I'll finish now. Uh, it was quite nice session. I'll put that video as a on my YouTube channel as a snapshot of the mind, as a part of the series Snapshot of the Mind. And yeah, it was great fun again. Um, see you again in 5 months, maybe. Uh, Maybe I'll make some video earlier, but we'll see. See you next time. Thank you very much. How to turn it off now? Come on. See you.